Good evening. All right. If everybody could find their seats, we're going to tee this up. Look at that. I just left my pages down there. There we go. All right, well, welcome as I'm fumbling around. This is the highlight of the year for the Charitable Society, and it is one of the highlights of the club for the Missouri Athletic Club. So we're really glad you're here to share this evening. My name is Nat Walsh. I'm one of the co-chairs with Jared King. And we just really do appreciate the club and all the members' continued embrace of the Charitable Society. First, I want to acknowledge a few of our current Board of Governors who are here. Our president, Jody Peterson, right there. Governor Carrie Burggraf, there, great hands. Governor Bob Bax out there, and Governor Peggy Northcutt. There we go. And we also have a past board member, Jim Sheets here, Governor Sheets. As many of you know, the Charitable Society exists underneath the Sports Foundation, and we want to thank Jeff Moore from the Sports Foundation who's here tonight. Thank you, Jeff. And then real quickly, just raise your hands. We have a number of our CSC committee members here. Brett Benyo and his wife, Katie. Ryan Farrar and Kiara Hunzel. Jared King, Scott Molden, Kent Price, somewhere there. Gene Raybuck. Patty Sextro. The aforementioned Jim Sheets, Daniel and Shannon Silverman here, right? Nancy Soulflow and Sheila Kreiser. The other very important group to thank are those members of the MAC staff who are here who assist us throughout the year. As the charities can understand, this cannot entirely be a volunteer operation. We have to have real substance running it. And so I really want to thank Elizabeth Brown, wherever Elizabeth is, and Katie Maurer. These are the folks that really spend part of their work day helping the Charitable Society, and they do it very, very well. So thank you. I also need to mention Pam Roth and her accounting team, because there's a lot to account here, and the Charitable Society imposes on them. And then lastly, and most importantly, one of the biggest CSC supporters is Chip Mish, our general manager. So thank you, bud. I'd also just briefly like to acknowledge Nancy Soulflow and her mom, Anita, for coordinating this event. It's really awesome. It's also important to give a shout out to Nancy for her longtime commitment to the CSC. So we thank her for many reasons. I'd like to now sort of step to the side for a second, if you will. And you heard me mention Jim Sheets. He is the Board of Governor member who persuaded the Board of Governors to create the CSC. And so we thank him. And at the same time, his sidekick, Sam Hotmeyer, was the gentleman who took the idea and made it happen, and here we are today. And so I'm going to ask Jared to come up and talk a little bit about Sam. And
yes, thank you, Nat. Thank you, everyone. So talked a lot about Sam, Mr. Hotmeyer. I met Sam through my in-laws, Bill and Sandy Buchheim, who've had a long history with the Hotmeyers, a friendship that lasted almost 70 years back from WashU days. Sam and Pat took great interest in my in-laws' pursuit to have children and assisted them through a process by writing a very persuasive letter of recommendation to the Children's Home Society of Missouri, which ended up in the adoption of my wife, Sarah. From the moment I entered the scene, Sam genuinely welcomed me. He and Mrs. Hotmeyer were kind enough to throw me a wedding shower with my wife, and it wasn't long after that Sam put me to work on the CSC. I remember going home to my wife that night and saying, not really sure what I signed up for, but I'm helping out Mr. Hopmeyer.
That's everybody.
Yeah. I thought it would only be a year or two, and here I am 18 years later. Service and sharing is what he had and were core to Sam in his nature. A little bit from his obituary, because he was in a lot of things. He served on numerous professional and civic organizations, too many to list here, including the American Tendinitis Association, National Hearing Aid Society, Program Chairman, 1977 and Founders Award, Missouri Hearing Society, President from 1987 to 1990, and Founders Club. 55 years of continuous membership in the International Hearing Society, President from 2002 to 2004. He also served on the White House Conference on Small Business in 1986, and as a 60-plus year member of the Rotary, Paul Harris Fellow, and a longtime supporter of organizations like Family Forward, Sherwood Forest, Youth Bridge, and others. He worked hard to leave behind a better world than the one he entered 89 years ago. Sam's legacy of generosity and service is tremendous. I'm so grateful for the time I was able to spend with Sam, and I'm honored to serve on the CSC. Sam's daughter, Melissa, and her husband are here tonight, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing your dad with us.
We have a, I want to bring this to him. We have a very special token. You can't find these on eBay. This is something your dad, because he was determined to make this happen from ground zero, he had these buttons made up. And it would say, ask me about the Charitable Society. That was his approach. And boy, if you didn't have it on, he was handing out penalties or fines at meetings. So he really was an incredible gentleman, obviously not just to the CSC, but it's great that you could be here to see, what he started. And hopefully he'd be proud that we're continuing on in his image, if you will, his legacy. For those who aren't intimately familiar with the CSC, you just heard about the start. This year was a record year for the CSC. We raised over $60,000. We had never broken 50 until 2 years ago, so it just continues to succeed. And in addition to the 60+ thousand that we raised this year, we were the recipients of a $25,000 donation from an anonymous donor for future use and future consideration. So it was a very positive year. And I'm going to talk a little bit about where all the sources come, or where the sources are. Overall, it's a comment that the CSC has continued to integrate itself within the MAC. And so it's great. This money that we raise comes everything from monthly member donations, monthly staff donations. We have individual gifts that members give, the highest ever this year, almost $10,000. Katie Maurer is incredibly persuasive. She just calls and says, somebody just brought me a check for $2,000. We also have like the clubs within the club, the Wine Society, Nancy and Kurt donate funds. The Missouri Athletic Club Associates have a holiday party where all the funds they raise there go to the CSC. The Women's Initiative Group has a fashion show, which I mentioned Ryan Farrar earlier, and Kara, they were participants in that, so thank you. A former member of our group, the Bob Barnes, he established the Bob Barnes Silver Racket Tennis Tournament. In addition to that, we benefit from a little bit of the Foundations Month. For those of you who are members, in August you can sign a chit, and at the end of the year we get a little bit of the club's wide year-end appeal. So this $60+ thousand, when it's all said and done, is coming from all corners of the MAC. And so that bodes well for the future. We're hopeful. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jared.
So tonight, we formally introduce the 2025 Charities to the MAC. And after dinner, we will also salute the 2024 MAC Charities and present them with the fruits of our record fundraising efforts in 2024. I'd like to invite Michael Blood up here for the invocation, so we can have that before dinner.
Heavenly Father, we gather tonight in your name to serve and support those in need. Bless the CSC and all who have generously contributed to it. Guide us in our efforts and actions so that they reflect your love and compassion, and grant us the wisdom and perseverance to carry out CSC's mission. Lift up those who will benefit from these wonderful charitable organizations. May they feel your presence, receive comfort, and find strength and peace in your embrace. And finally, bless the hands and hearts that made this evening possible, including the MAC staff, cooks, waiters, and leaders of the CSC. Amen.
So before we break for dinner, I also want to offer a special thanks again to Nancy Soufflo and her mother, who organized this evening's event, which includes securing the lovely music. Thank you, Jenna. And helping the club with the menu and centerpieces. Nancy has done it all. So thank you again for being here, and enjoy dinner.
Hats off, and thank you very much to our wonderful kitchen crew and chefs. That was a darn good meal. Man, oh man. You know, I'm sitting with our general manager, so maybe that's the key. Yes, no, I'm only kidding. It was very good, and thank you. What we'd like to do right now is to formally introduce the 2025 charities to our club. For those of you who aren't familiar, every October, all the members and the staff at the Missouri Athletic Club are invited to nominate local children's charities. And those nominations come in, and whoever nominates is asked to come and give a 5-minute presentation. Not the executive director or the president of the charity, but rather the nominating party, if you will, so we can see just how involved or how intimate the member or the staff member is with the charity. We take that all in, we have this day of presentations, and we select 3. And so that happens in October and November, or October, and it's finalized in November. And since then, these 3 charities have had a chat with Elizabeth and I, and we really look forward to working with them all. And so the first one, and this is, I don't know, alphabetical order or not, is Books for STL Kids. This group was nominated by Heather Winsby. And I don't think Heather's here tonight because Heather's has some health challenges. But Bree Muhlenbauer, is Bree here? There she is the vice president of book grants. And Books for STL Kids provides new books to children and families in under-resourced St. Louis communities to inspire the love of reading and increase literacy within the community. So Bree, we look forward to working with you. We've got a few members of the book club here, our clubs within the club, so not getting ahead of ourselves, but book club, we're going to be looking to introduce you here to Books for St. Louis Kids, or STL Kids. Jared, you want to talk about the next group?
So the next group is Butterfly Kisses Alliance, nominated by Courtney Hake. Courtney, where's she? Oh, there she is. Thank you, Courtney. And with her is Kayla Hollingshead, president and co-founder, and Jennifer Cascella. Right? Did I say that right? Okay, thank you. So they provide kits, resources, and support for families who experience pregnancy loss or the death of a newborn. So we have some great ideas to work with you guys, and welcome to the club.
Every year, all the charities are very worthy, but as I said to Kayla and Jennifer, that's a pretty noble call there. So we look forward to working with you. The third group is Kid Smart. Tina Pessanisi, do I say that right, Tina? Okay, great. Okay, sorry. It nominated them. And Jennifer Miller, is Jennifer joining us tonight, or wasn't sure she can make it? Okay. But you're shaking. Are you here with them? Okay, great. What's your name? Abby, welcome. So KidSmart provides essential tools for learning, including school supplies and books to children and teachers in under-resourced schools. During our chat, we had a thought of maybe we could fill up the bus with supplies. So when Chip jumped right in, we have some buses out there. We'll start with a small one and see. So again, we're looking at all these ideas for service during the year, but we really look forward to working with you. And to wrap this up, to the 3 nominators, thank you. And your charities will thank you as well, because someone has to take the time to fill out the forms and come and make the presentation. In Tina's case, 3 years in a row, I think. Impressive persistence. So that's great. Okay. Now, really what we do all year long at the CSC comes to this, which is the presentation of the checks to our, in this case, our 2024 charities. We're going to invite each charity to come up, 5 to 7 minutes, to talk about what it's like to be a CSC charity, how it went this year, maybe a little thought about what you might do with the money. So the first one, and again, I don't know if it's any particular order, is Charities Connections. And they were nominated by Michael Gunn, and there he is. Michael, a long-term and pretty significant presence at the MAC, so thank you, sir. Tom Blood is the president, and there he is. I had the pleasure of meeting Tom this year. Charities provides goods to agencies that serve underprivileged children in the St. Louis metropolitan area with the mission to connect those who have with those who need. Love that line. So, Tom, could you come on up here and share a little bit about your time as an MAC CSC charity?
So good evening, everyone. Tonight, I want to talk about the power of connections, because in essence, that's what Charities Connections is all about. Our mission is to connect those who have with those who need. It's a simple premise that goes back to our founder, Father Thomas Bryan. In 1976, Father Bryan was out on a walk with his dad in North St. Louis. He was saddened by all the poverty. So Father stopped at a local bakery and asked what they did with their leftovers at the end of the day. Into the trash, they told him. He asked if he could pick up those leftover items and deliver them to a nearby St. Vincent de Paul, and they agreed. Father began making those delivery runs with his dad. He then got some friends involved, and soon after, more volunteers from the parish where he was serving, as well as several new sources of donations. Like most priests, Father was reassigned several times. The volunteer delivery runs continued and Charities Connections grew. When Father got to St. Gerard Majella in 2002, several parishioners got involved, and knowing that retirement would one day be in his future, urged him to turn this grassroots organization into a not-for-profit, and Charities Connections became an official entity. Today, we have more than 170 volunteers, all working to help serve the poor and underserved throughout the Metro St. Louis area. Every week, we collect donated items from a variety of donors that goes beyond food to include clothing, laptops, backpacks, and a range of other items. We also have dedicated shoppers who purchase food, personal care products, and other essential items. They're all collected and then distributed at no cost to food pantries, homeless outreach programs, senior services housing, nursing homes, and children's services organizations. So how many children do we help each year? That number is in the thousands, and the good that we do is felt throughout the area. Our donated items for children goes beyond food to include school supplies, Christmas presents, children's clothing, baby formula, books featuring kids of color, car seats for infants, as well as thousands of diapers, pull-ups, and wipes. Here are the organizations we regularly support with donated items for children. Boys Hope and Girls Hope, East St. Louis Heart and Home Family Center, the Federal Probation Office Family Program, Grace Hill, the Patch Center, Guardian Angel Settlement, Our Lady's Inn, Room at the Inn, Ronald McDonald House Family Room at Children's Hospital, rural parish workers of Christ the King, St. Francis Xavier College Church Outreach Program, and 5 different St. Louis Crisis Nursery Centers. But let's go back to what I first talked about, making connections. We're here tonight because of Michael Gunn. A few years ago, Michael applied to the CSC for Charities. Though we weren't chosen, Michael knew that Charities delivers good to thousands of children throughout the year. So we resubmitted and were thrilled to be chosen by the MAC's CSC. Thank you, Michael, and thanks to everyone we've met over the past year. The connections continue. At last year's CSC Awards ceremony, I met Heather Kemper, who is the Director of Advancement for Miriam Schools. Heather recommended we apply for a grant from the Spirit of St. Louis Women's Fund. This past October, Charities was one of their grant recipients. I had the opportunity to meet and ultimately connect with several others here at the MAC who have been eager to help Charities. And where's my third page? My wife, Chris, and I have our own connection to the MAC. Our son, Michael, and his fiancée, Madeline, are both MAC members. And cheers to our other soon-to-be married son, Tom Jr. The Charitable Society for Children is all about helping children here in the Metro St. Louis area. And with the funds we receive, every dollar will be allocated to those clients I listed earlier. Thanks to your generosity, you're going to be making life a little better for thousands of babies, infants, toddlers, and school-aged children. We hope our connections continue with the MAC's CSC. So if you or someone you know wants to get involved by volunteering with Charities, let's connect. If your place of employment has any grant programs where Charities might be a good fit, let's connect. If your place of employment has any grant programs, I think I just said that. If you know of any organizations that need help to help those in need, let's connect. And of course, please connect with us by following Charities Connections on Facebook. Together, there is so much good we can do. Thanks to everyone here tonight, and God bless.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Come on, we'll take a quick picture of it.
Michael. Hey, Michael. Come on up.
Okay, thank you. So the next charity is Scottish Walker Wright Clinic, nominated by Kurt Witzel. There he is. I saw him earlier. Here with him is Jacob Gutshaw, Director, and Damon Mitchell, Development Director. So they teach 2 things, teach 2 through 6-year-olds, children with speech and language disorders, the communication skills necessary to succeed in school and throughout their lives. So, come on up.
Good evening to all the esteemed members of the Missouri Athletic Club, to the honored guests, and to the friends of the clinic. I want to just start by taking a quick survey. How many of you have a cell phone on you right now? I'm going to guess just about everybody. Why do we have these devices on us at all times? It's pretty straightforward. And I think the representatives from Caritas said it pretty well, is to connect. As humans, we seem pre-programmed to want to connect and to want to communicate with each other. Whether it's a long conversation, a short text, or you simply want to read up on how your sports team is doing, humans have that need within them. But what would you do if your preschool-age child was struggling to communicate and struggling to connect with you? And that's pretty common. In fact, recent data suggests that 1 in 12 children in preschool years will have a speech and language disorder. So if your preschooler needed help, where would you turn? Luckily, here in Missouri, in the St. Louis region, we have many valuable resources for that. There are state programs such as First Steps and the early childhood special education programs through the local school districts for children that qualify for those. If you don't qualify, you might be able to get help at a private clinic or a hospital, and that's if you have insurance that will cover it. But what if you don't have insurance, or maybe even worse, you do have insurance, but it won't cover it? Well, that's pretty common too, because most insurance will cover speech and language therapy if a child has a complex diagnosis or if there's a documented injury. So if you don't have something like that, you have to pay out of pocket. And private therapy is very expensive. In fact, one of our supporters just recently told me that when her kids were young, way back in the 1900s, the 1970s, she had to pay out of pocket and get her kids the therapy that they needed. And it took her years to be able to pay that therapy off. That was before the Walker Scottish Rite Clinic was formed in 1988. And so now she's a supporter of children that need therapy now that she can afford it. She supports the free diagnostics, the individual and group therapy, the audiology testing, the parent training that are all available through the Walker Scottish Rite Clinic of Maryville University. And now all of you can help those children too. I'm reminded of a couple of kids that came through the clinic a few years ago. They were twins, and they could only grunt when they first came to the clinic at age 3. They seemed to have this kind of twin language that was grunts mostly. But after a few months of therapy, the therapist had taught them to say buddy, and they called each other buddy. Hey, buddy, buddy, and that's all they could really say. Now those kids are in their teen years, and unless you were a speech pathologist, you wouldn't really know that they had to have speech therapy as children. And their grandparent, every year, makes a donation to the Walker Scottish Rite Clinic, even though they were preschoolers when they came through, so that those next kids can make sure that they get the therapy that they need. So, my name is Jacob Gutschall. I'm the director of the Walker Scottish Rite Clinic. And it's with immense gratitude that I want to thank the Missouri Athletics Club's Charitable Society for Children for the past year's incredible support that we've received. It's truly been an honor. You've been able to shine the spotlight on children served by the Walker Scottish Rite Clinic and our programs at 5 locations throughout the St. Louis region, where we partner with health clinics and also Head Starts. And we also provide telepractice to try to reach kids so that they can get the therapy that they need, and all of it's free. The support we've received from the MAC has been instrumental in helping us to empower the young children we serve, those that face challenges that hinder their ability to communicate and their ability to connect with their families. So, your commitment to improve children's lives is really inspirational. I'd like to extend our gratitude on behalf of the clinic, children, and families for all the support that you've given and making it possible for them to receive the therapy that they need. We appreciate all of the donations that we got just last week on Monday. Nat dropped off a whole carload of donations of therapy supplies, toys, and books, and our therapists are already using those in therapy. It's always nice to have something new to engage the children and to get them active and playing in therapy. We do a lot of play therapy so that the children don't really realize that they're doing something that's really hard for them, because we want them to come back next week and keep doing it again. In addition to those therapy supplies, we're especially excited about the little lending library built and installed by MAC staff members here in the basement of this building, Igor and Skip. This lending library was graciously donated to the children in the Jeff Vanderloo neighborhood, where we have a location in North St. Louis, to help inspire a love of literacy. And I love that we have people that are helping to do that as well for the next year. As you know, access to books can open up a world of possibilities, and your support is helping cultivate a brighter future for those kids. Igor and Skip came and they had a machine to dig a hole in the ground, and it just wasn't working. It was a hot summer day, it was dry, but they got that book lending library installed, and it's really been special to see the kids pick out books, free books that they can just take home and have available. Because speech-language disorders are highly correlated with later literacy disorders as well. So we want those kids to be reading and reading early. Our incredible staff and volunteers work hard to bring all these resources to life and transform the lives of every child who walks through the doors. As we look around today, we are reminded of the profound impact that the community and the collaborations that we have can have on all the children's lives in our community. This partnership with the MAC even included them donating this ballroom for our annual gala. Our annual gala not only helps to raise awareness, but it's our largest fundraiser for the year. So that helped us in a big way to raise even more funds for this year's support. And we're already booked to come back next year, so I encourage you to do that as well. In addition, a dedicated staff member, Mr. Silverman, hosted a special Table Lodge dinner fundraiser here at the MAC, with all the proceeds going to the Walker Scottish Rite Clinic. So thank you for that. These initiatives show the commitment of the MAC to foster support of children in our community. It takes a village, and I am incredibly grateful to this group who cares so deeply about the next generation. I would also like to acknowledge our sponsor, MAC member and clinic board member, Kurt Witzel. Thank you, Kurt, for your dedication and passion to help drive our mission forward. In closing, let us remember the ripple effects of the work that we do today and the connections that we make in our interactions every day. Your good works affect not just the children we serve, but their families and the entire community. Thank you once again to the Missouri Athletic Club, the Charitable Society for Children. Together we can empower and uplift children of our community. So thank you very much.
Hey, Kurt, you want to come on? All right. Last but certainly not least, We met the Miriam School and Learning Center this year. Where are y'all? There you are. Every charity is super worthy. Every not-for-profit is doing these things. It's quite an operation you have out there, folks, and it was really neat to meet them. This group was nominated by Kara Kunzel. Where are you, Kara? Kara is actually an occupational therapist at Miriam, so knew exactly what she was doing when she was nominating this group. I see Mary here. Is Heather here also? Not. Okay. So Mary Cognata is the head of Miriam School, and thank you very much for opening your doors to us. So before you come up, we always try to do, we in past years have tried to do a little service in addition to raising money. All groups lend itself differently. Needless to say, the folks here did not ask us to send MAC members out to do speech therapy. And so everything's different. We did a drive. At the Miriam School, they said, hey, can you send some basketball players out? Well, if you're a member of the MAC, we're deep in basketball players. And so it was a wonderful thing that we got to do and go out and play basketball and have basketball clinics, 4 or 5 of them after school. So we very much enjoyed that, and it seemed like the kiddos did as well. So why don't you come up, Mary, whoever's going to come up here and tell us a little bit more about your experience, and welcome. Let me get all this out of here. Sorry. Clear the decks for you. There you go.
Thank you. I'm a talker. You see no notes because I talk a lot. So imagine being 6 years old and not being able to go to dinner with your family anywhere. Imagine being 8 years old, and for the last 4 or 5 years of your life, people have told you how you're lacking. You've been tested by myriad numbers of people. You can't succeed in school. Move that up and be a 12-year-old who can't read and who has difficulty with your memory. And so your hope for ever loving a book feels out of reach to you. Imagine being in middle school and all the kids you thought were your friends all through elementary school, suddenly you think, they don't actually like me because I have a difficult time connecting to them. Welcome to Miriam School. This Christmas, a parent wrote a note to me, and she said, I never dreamed of Miriam. In fact, if you had asked me, I would have prayed my child would never need to cross your doors. But now I am so grateful that you're there. You've given him back to us. He believes in himself. It's not an easy task. It's these magnificent, just a few of our magnificent staff members are here this evening. But for our kids, the world is too big, too loud, too bright, too much in every way. And the work we do, and we believe in so deeply at Miriam School, is often difficult for people on the outside to understand. We're a very unconventional type of school. Though I think I said to Nat when you came to visit, I actually believe that what we do is what all children need and what all children should have. So what we give back to families is not only a child's ability to learn to read, to be able to process language, to be able to regulate their bodies in time and space, to be able to go to a family reunion. A parent just told me they'd never gone to a family reunion or a wedding reception or to McDonald's. That's the hope we give back to them. And for those of us who do this work, and I've had the great pleasure of being at Miriam for 26 years, it often feels like people don't value the hard and tenacious daily work we do. It looks like Kira's going to tell us about OT in just a moment. It looks like play, but for our kids, it is the hardest work ever. We talk a lot about rigor and grit at Miriam and how it looks so different for our kids. to learn in a group and be able to have joint attention and to be able to connect to people and understand their ideas is the work of a genius for our kids. So imagine my wonderful, wonderful connection with this lovely group when Nat and some of your members came to see our school. And they saw us. They understood us. They believed in us. And that's what all of the members of CSC are doing for us with this gift. I'm so grateful for the basketball group. And I want to publicly thank you for jumping through all our hoops to be, no pun intended, to actually be able to work with our kids. Because what I heard from families and from our kids was, I get to play basketball. They don't generally get to be on organized sports teams. They don't have the social, emotional, or physical skills to do that so well. So for you lovely, wonderful role models to come and see them and think they were great and enjoy them and teach them was truly a wonderful thing. So I love this connection we have with you. I hope we always keep a connection with you. I'd love to do basketball again. And Kira's going to talk about what your overly generous gift is going to do for our children. We had the wonderful experience of meeting with Charities last year, and we have done a fundraiser with them because we also believe in teaching our children that when good comes to you, you give back, and you do good for others. That we're all here to lift each other up in this world, and that's our not only our it's our duty, really, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So thank you so much for honoring us with this gift, and I would love for Kira to tell you a little bit about what we're going to do with it.
All right, so I need notes because I'm not as eloquent as Mary, but thank you all so much. This is insane. It's great. It's going to help us so much. Like Mary said, our children at Miriam School, they have a lot of unique needs and struggles and challenges that are very difficult for any child to overcome, and then throw in, some of their traumas and, being born and adopted and addicted to drugs, stuff like that. It goes pretty deep. So anything and everything that we can do to help them is amazing. So I appreciate all of you. As Mary talked about, we do a lot of our therapy through play. So occupational therapy, if you walk into our OT room at any point, you'll see kids throwing Velcro spiders at a spider web, and you're like, oh, it looks like they're just playing. Yes, but they're also working on all of these other different skills. So we wrap all of the OT skills into everything. So with the CSC's generous contribution, we plan to get some stuff that we've never been able to get before. So bleachers for outside with sun coverage, so the kids who don't love playing the sports can sit and watch their classmates and cheer them on and, still be part of it, even if they're not in the game. We also are gonna get new basketball hoops, new soccer goals, and some other exciting equipment, because this is, way more than we expected. So it's great. Thank you so much. Our equipment has been loved by so many children over the years and duct taped, and it'll be great. They'll be so excited to get new things that don't have, duct tape all over them. And yeah, it'll be great. And not only does this support them through play, but also as grounds for connection with each other and building all of those important foundational skills for development. So thank you all so much for choosing Miriam School as a 2024 charity and providing us with the resources we need in order to help our children flourish. So thanks.
All right, well, if it doesn't make you feel a little better about the MAC, I don't know what does. So thank you all for being here. This is what we do, and I look out at our CSC members. First of all, I look at Sam Hotmeyer's daughter, and I look at our members and go, hey, we're doing okay here, gang. We're going in the right direction. We continue to raise more. We continue to do more service. So thank you to everybody who's part of it. Thank you to both the 24 and the 25 charities, because without you, we wouldn't get to have dinner here tonight. But everybody get home safely, and thank you again very much. Have a good evening.